Yeah, and like I said, when I first set my Olympic goal, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get 5 gold medals, I'm gonna be the best in the world, it's gonna be awesome." And then pretty quickly I realized, like, it's hard. It
Yeah.
is really hard.
Welcome to Brainstoke. I'm Tom Telford here with Preston Niederhauser. We are actually, this is debut.
Yeah.
We are literally in the new Brainstoke studio. We have an office. It's real. It is dedicated to what we're doing here and all of our guests to be in a spot where, yeah, they're excited, comfortable, and in a space. Although we are doing this virtually today with our guest, we're grateful that we are here. Thank you for Levo, a mind care company, for all of you do, all of your sponsorship. And I want to just start before we introduce our guest and thank Cornerstone Advisors Gardner Brown. Today we're going to talk a lot about racing and risk and what it takes to, perform at a high level. And I'm going to bring some dialogue in from Cornerstone Advisors because you can't take risks until you have your foundation set. And we'll talk more about that today as we dive in and how important it is to have a foundation before risk is taken. So also, Adam Barker, Bolt, best shaving products on the planet. Thank you, Adam. Who else, Preston, do we need to mention?
Probably Envy.
Oh, that Envy.
Oh yeah, you remember those guys?
Oh, the best carbon fiber on the
Yeah,
planet.
I just
Yeah, that's
rode.
kind of important.
I just rode the Mog in Durango this week,
Nice.
and it was awesome. It was great.
Very cool. All the folks at Envy, super grateful to be on those awesome bikes. So our studio in the new area actually is right down the canyon from some of the best riding on the planet. And I know that the Mountain Green community in particular, Morgan County, Mountain Green, what they're doing and building is going to be awesome. You're
Yeah.
right in the heart of that.
We're-
You're in the
we're-
middle of that.
We're working on it.
Pretty cool.
One shovel turn at a time.
That's pretty cool.
Yep.
So without further ado, the best guest that we could possibly have as we start this new, podcast studio, a literal Olympian, silver medalist from just short, time ago, Haley Batten. So glad to have you. Welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Yeah, I'm thrilled to be on here and yeah, honored to talk to you guys.
Haley, I've got to ask. I might have been told some information, but my understanding is you cut your teeth on a trail called Fire Swamp at Deer Valley. And I watched a video today of someone riding Fire Swamp. And I was told that you are the only female high schooler that would ever run that trail with a certain group of boys, high school boys. Uh,
Yeah.
does this ring a bell? And tell us all about Fire Swamp and what it's all about.
Yeah. So Fire Swamp is like I guess a downhill trail on the top of some lifts in Deer Valley ski resort, or I guess bike park too. But that's funny. Yeah. When I was growing up and racing, there was a group of us that I guess I just rode with guys a lot when I was younger. Yeah, and we had this awesome group that I raced and rode with we did all the like midweek races and Intermountain Cup races and then high school races as well. And we would shuttle up to the top of Deer Valley actually when the lifts were closed. And I think for a while we were on hardtail bikes, like hardtail, high post. Maybe we would drop the posts, but like we didn't have droppers
Yeah,
back
I
then,
was told
really.
no droppers were around when you
Yeah,
were running this
yeah.
trail.
Yeah, and we would drive up as far as we could before the gates, and then, we would ride from there, and sometimes it was, like, winter, there was some snow, there would be, like, leaves covering the trails, and, yeah, we would ride Fire Swamp, we'd, like, session all those gnarly trails, and now, like, I've been up there relatively recently, and I think they've just gotten gnarlier and gnarlier, like, since then, the rocks are just bigger and more technical, but yeah, I'm sure I was walking a couple of sections, but Yeah, it was pretty gnarly, but that's yeah, that's just what we did to get better and have fun and, yeah, so that's not a lie, that's a
Yeah,
true
no.
story.
Well, after I learned that info, I was like, it totally makes sense because watching you in World Cup races and the way in which you charge the downhills, the descents, the tech stuff, you get after it like no one else in the group, and it all just made a lot more sense that she's clearly knows how to handle tech and rowdy and rough, and it was really fun. It was really cool. So
Oh, that's funny, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm just so lucky growing up in Utah, we would always go to Moab, St. George, and then riding throughout Park City, and really everywhere in Utah, there's such a variety of trails that I think allows for a lot of progression, and I think I just always rode with people that challenged me and made me better, and then later when I went off to university, I ended up going to school in Squamish, BC. And for me, riding and training was all about pushing my limits outside of the racing so that when I went to the venue when I was at the World Cups, I never second guessed anything. I always knew I've ridden this or more. Like I always did something harder than what would I would ever see at a World Cup course
yeah,
because I wanted to be challenged to a whole new level and then I wanted to show up and be like, "Oh, this is nothing. Like
yeah,
I can ride this, when I'm maxed out, when my heart rate's high, and not even like bat an eye on it, or spend extra energy in my pre-ride, like trying to get up the guts to ride something. And I still tell that to young riders. I'm like, if you're at a World Cup or you're at a course and you get to a session, you're like, ooh, like, can I do that? If that's not in your toolkit yet, don't do it. Just like commit to the B line or the alternative line and just don't worry about it. Now you know that's something you need to work on and you'll get there, you
yeah.
know? So I always try to do that in my training is just to like be better and challenge myself and be scared or work up to something before I got to the races.
You're setting the table for a lot of things we would love to talk about. I mean, you're mentioning some great
Totally.
things, but I've got to ask you a couple questions, and really, this is just because I'm a fanboy and watching World Cup races, and just so everybody knows, you are a Specialized factory racer, right? You're sponsored
Mhm.
by Specialized. One of your teammates is having the most epic year ever, Chris
Mhm.
Blevins. But he was interviewed the last he's won 5 short tracks in a row. I think 5, is that right? And
Yeah.
he was interviewed at the end of a race, maybe this last weekend, and he just talked about how he has to, he's learning how to control. I'm using my own words here, but he's learned how to control his heart rate and to keep
Mm,
it down. And you just mentioned that too. And
mm.
maybe because I'm just a fat dad that likes to ride my bike, but my heart explodes and I can't ever get it under control. How do you guys do it? Like, because it's full gas racing, how do you control that heart rate? Like, how do you train for it? What do you do to be able, because the lower you can keep your heart, obviously the deeper you can go, the longer you can go, all those things. But that's
Yeah.
just a remarkable skill that I think you guys have all figured out. And I guess how is the question.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's a big question for sure. And I think there's a lot of elements to it. I mean, the foundation is really the foundation of training that you do all winter long and building up in a very strategic way so that when you are at the races, you are in peak condition for sure. I mean, I think that's regardless, like that's a given. But I think once you're in the races and your body's prepared, your mind's prepared, cardio, you're good, to race world class highest level. Then it's the races are won beyond that. Everyone there is fit. They're the best in the world. They're genetically super talented. They've done the work. They have some of the best coaches in the world. They're the best in their nations. They have Olympic level support to be there. Then it's about being able to tune into your body to another level and I think that is how races are won. It's this next level awareness of your body, being able to tune in to when you are maximally exerting yourself in a race. Cross country is all out, start to finish.
Yeah.
It's like very fine, detailed awareness of like what is maximal, what is just below that, what is too much, when do I need to pull back? When can I give more? How much more can I give? How long will that last me? It's like really knowing like how you need to race that race based on like how you feel, like really feel. And that type of awareness um has to develop with time, because it's not just like, I don't know, it's layers of awareness. It's like very, very fine, detailed awareness of like
Yeah.
how you feel. And so when it comes to breathing, there's definitely like breathing strategies as well that you can use to like, like you're maximal, but you're also like you're good,
Yeah.
like you're on top of it, you're doing full exhales. You're aware of your breathing when you're fully exerting yourself so that you can slow it down. And Chris might have, he does a lot of meditation, he does a lot of breath work, so he might have some strategies that work really well for him. But I think overall, it's just about really knowing yourself and being able to mentally also be in the right place where your body's relaxed, your breathing can stay at the lowest level possible, for recovery. When you are pre-writing courses, knowing what those recovery places are, where can I take a breath, where can I relax a little bit, where am I going to slow down, where am I going to give everything? And that's all part of the race plan in a way. And then also just riding on instinct and making sure your instinct is the right instinct,
Yeah.
when you're training and preparing. Yeah.
There's
Well,
If
so
that answers
much
your
good
yeah.
question.
there.
No.
There's a lot there, and if it's okay, I want to double click a little bit, but I also want to go
Yeah.
back. You've scaffolded, right? You've built. You said that layer after layer. I'm picturing cutting a tree in half, and I'm looking at the stump, and I'm seeing ring after ring after year. You've been building and scaffolding who you are, and the capabilities that you have. Go back a little bit and just tell us a little bit of your upbringing and childhood and how that was the beginning rings, right? When you were the seedling writer,
Yeah.
what was going on at home with you that started to build out even the idea of your mindset of I can do and become something, an Olympian. I mean,
Mm.
what were those roots, right? That
Yeah.
gave you that.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I think it all really starts with my family. Like my parents are, and our family unit is like fundamental to the person that I am now. And the way I was raised was, the bike was really part of how we explored places. It was about adventure, it was about challenging myself, it was about freedom, it was about independence. And I think my parents really gave me that as a gift, for my development as a young woman, and that I'm so grateful for. When I was really young, like just getting to the bike, I remember my family, we traveled a lot. We lived in a lot of different places. I was born in Colorado. We lived 2 years in Germany. That's where I actually learned to ride, was in Europe. So that really strengthened our family unit, because we spent a lot of time in areas where we didn't all speak the language, and we were exploring and traveling and adventuring throughout, yeah, my youth, I guess. And then I grew up in Park City, Utah, and I remember so many bike trips to Moab, to St. George, just riding throughout Park City, building, family friendships, through cycling and in the cycling community. And also lots of, more adventures with my family. I remember going to the Czech Republic, and we did a bike tour along the Iron Curtain and learned all the
Wow.
history there, missed weeks of school, and then got stuck because of the Icelandic volcano. And we were like, no phones, right? We show up to the airport, everybody's in long lines, all the flights have been canceled, and we're like, what's happening? We're waiting in line to figure it out, and we're trying to figure out where to stay. We don't know when we'll get home, and missing continue like more days of school, and that was like the type of learning that I did about life, was like through these travels and through my parents. um I think just teaching me throughout my youth, is that we had really strong morals, strong ethics, strong character. That was what we were raised with, and I think that's also core to being a good person, but also being a great athlete. You have to have a strong foundation, like you mentioned earlier, and really knowing who you are, and the principles that you have throughout your life. From there, I guess, I think maybe my competitive fire just was natural, or was maybe more than just like wanting to beat people, but always about self-development and self-growth. And my parents were always about that. They challenged us to excel in school, um, and to work hard at everything we did. And I think that was just, it wasn't always about like who you beat, but it was how you were your best. And I think, yeah, I really took that into the sports that I did, and into my schoolwork, and just my approach has always been about being my best, and being really aware of how I can improve and be better. My sorry, you asked a big question, so I'm trying to like navigate my roots, like you said. But I first decided I wanted to be an Olympic athlete at the national championships in Sun Valley, Idaho. It was the first time I won a national jersey. I was in the 13, 14 category, so I must have been around 13 years old, I think. And I just won my first, yeah, national title, junior title, and that was the 2012 London Olympics. So I remember they brought the Olympic team onto the podium after they had done all the awards ceremonies for like all the junior categories, amateur categories, and they're like, Leah Davis and Georgia Gould, Todd Wells, Sam Schultz, like this is your Olympic team. They're going to London. And that was the first time, I'd always watched Olympics. I always loved sports. But I was like, oh, like mountain biking, that's in the Olympics? And I think then I was like, I want to do that. And I would really say like around 13, 14. And then it really solidified when I was around 15 years old. I was like, I'm going to be an Olympian. And my goal was 5 Olympic gold medals when I was a kid. But I think the fact of like how I knew that I could be an Olympian, like I honestly never questioned it. Like I just knew that I had a capable body and mind, and whatever it took, I could find a way, you know? Like it just I was like, I'm human, they're human, they work really hard, I could work really hard, like I have what it takes? Like as long as I'm capable, like I can do it? And I think that belief also came from my parents, because rewind to the story you asked about, me riding with all the guys on all these trails in Utah. I was also racing with just the guys until I was maybe like 13 years old. Yeah, 14 years old. Like I would race the junior men's categories of the Intermountain Cups in Utah, and there was maybe one other girl that was racing, but it was just like me and the guys, and sometime I would win. And I think like one, they were so respectful, like we were all friends. They were totally cool with battling out with me, to the finish line, sprinting me to the line. And today they're all still some of my best friends. And my parents never questioned whether or not I should be racing with the guys or not. They were just like, you belong there, you're good. I never questioned it. They were all my friends. We battle it out. Like I never questioned it. And I think that type of belief and like knowing that you're capable was just something that they instilled in me early on. And I think I just carried that throughout setting big goals, big dreams, and then also in the process of really pursuing them.
It feels like your parents taught you, hey, gender doesn't matter, but the idea that you can learn and figure things out on your own, you can adventure. You mentioned this idea of adventure and being taught that way and missing school, and your parents embraced that. Why did they embrace this idea of ditching school for weeks on end to go ride bikes? Like, why was that important
Yeah.
to your parents?
I think they're just well aware that, which I've like learned even more after going to university, and I studied education actually, and learning sciences. So I think they knew that learning just didn't happen just in the classroom.
Yeah.
It's not all in those walls, with teachers and students. Learning is about experience and the world, and going to history museums in Europe, and traveling to these amazing places. And even as an athlete, like it is not straightforward. It never is the path to being successful. It is this crazy journey. It's unpredictable. You travel to different places, you have airplane delays, you've got all these bags, you get injuries, like it's just crazy. And I think that's what they taught me throughout my life is it was always we were road tripping, you'd get flat tires on the car, the trailer, the camper would kind of fall apart, and we'd have to figure out how to fix it. And that was life. But in the classroom, sure, there's hiccups and problems, but it's pretty much trying to create the world in as much of a simplified, linear, boxed up and packaged approach of life that breaks everything down and you just take your tests and you study and you memorize things, and that is just not the world. So yes, academics was a big part of my life, and learning how to do what it takes to be successful in your future, knowing what you have to do now in school, in the classroom, in your grades to be successful and be able to do what you want to do. But I also knew that it was much more complex than that. And I think that's what they taught us through all of those experiences. Yes, from taking us out from weeks from school, sorry, but sure we had to do projects, we had to complete things from school. We had to do the works. We had to write a journal, to make up for what we're missing. So it was about, I think, learning in the most real world, complex way, and through experiences and adventures.
When you described there, Haley, just some of that in my head, I went to what an incredible way to learn very young, just resilience, and that it
Yes.
doesn't go as planned. And so in going out and adventuring, that alone in a life lesson of just you're going to break down, it's going to happen. How has that served you now when you think through, just childhood? Obviously, the bike was part of it, but what are those other traits and qualities that you picked up that still serve you, as an adult and a pro racer at the top of the game right now?
Yeah. Um, that's a great question. And I think resilience, that's a perfect word actually for yeah, one of those key life lessons. I think also to enjoy the moment, like that was something they always taught us too, is it's just like have fun, enjoy, your experiences, your life, always be positive, always be optimistic. Like that was always how we approach things. Like the flight was delayed, okay, we'll figure it out. It's not like, oh my gosh, we're gonna freak out, the world is ending. It's like, no, like you'll be okay. So I think optimism was always how they approached um life, and I still carry that with me a lot. But yeah, maybe resilience, being optimistic, and yeah, there's probably a lot more in there, but I think you're right. Like it's applied to my life off the bike and on the bike. And I think also the bike also was such a great vehicle to teaching all of those lessons. It was like the real world taught it, all these adventures, and then also the amount of time that I spent biking, competing, going out into the world. It was like I learned so much through all of that too.
I've got a question. You mentioned the Olympics, and
Hmm.
we mentioned you're the most recent silver medalist in cross country. But I want to talk about you mentioned how I don't think it was as easy as maybe you made it sound to be, and maybe it's just what I heard. But you just had this belief you were going to be an Olympian, and you made it happen. But it wasn't necessarily that easy. I mean, even the way USA Cycling is set up and how many spots are available and what you had to do to earn the points to qualify to be the Olympian. Can you help our listeners understand your 2024 season and the start of that year and how amazing it was and why it had to be as amazing as it was in order for you to get the spot to become the Olympian? Like, I think we
Yeah.
need to understand that so many things had to align for this dream to actually come to fruition. Can you help us
Yeah.
understand that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and like I said, when I first set my Olympic goal, I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna get 5 gold medals. I'm gonna be the best in the world. It's gonna be awesome." And then pretty quickly I realized, like, it's hard. It
Yeah.
is really hard, and it's hard in ways you can't. explain until you're in like the depths of those challenges. And so I guess going back to my Olympic qualification, it really began well, it began years before. This is like years and years and years of hard work and planning and preparation. But for 2024, really goes into 2023 because we had the Olympic qualifications. The first criteria was World Championships 2023. So I had really my big goal that year was to podium at World Championships in 2023 and qualify a year prior to the Olympics so that I could fully focus everything on peaking for Paris because I felt like I really learned that in Tokyo in 2021. I had to it was my first year in the elite category and I had to qualify at the first couple World Cups as well, and that took a lot of my preparation, focus, and what we call a peak. You know, when you have a one race season, you really need to choose a couple realistic goals, target all of your training to one day so that you can be your absolute best peak level fitness on the day and perform and be like excellent. And so we did a lot of that in 2021 early season, and I felt like my event in Tokyo was not as good as it could have been, but at the same time we also knew Tokyo was about experience for me. The Olympics is it's a really an experience that you can't describe until you go, and it takes a lot of mental and emotional load more than I I who also feels I feel like I'm strong mentally, and the Olympics is hard. It's very intense, and I really didn't think everybody says, "Oh, the Olympics, like, oh my gosh, you know, it's really big deal the first time you go," and I was like, "Psh, I'll be fine, like, I got this." And it was, like, it was a lot. And so I knew Tokyo was about the experience. I didn't want to accept that until afterwards. I realized how important it was to have that experience and that under my belt going into Paris. But anyways, in 2023, my target was to podium at World Championships, and unfortunately, I got a concussion earlier in the year. I had a pretty bad concussion that took me a pretty long time to recover from. So I had to skip quite a few World Cups. And when I was able to come back, I was able to compete at the Leger World Cup and then the the Paris Olympic test event. So I really focused my preparations on those events. So although I had to skip World Championships and I wasn't able to qualify, lucky for me, nobody else qualified at that event, so I was able to hold off until 2024 in the early World Cups. But I was also able to race the Paris Olympic test event, which was a huge opportunity. I took a lot of GoPro footage. I kind of was somewhat peaked for that event after my rebuild from my concussion, and I really learned a lot at that race about how the course raced and the speeds and the sections and just the details of it. It's really hard sometimes to race a race for the first time because you don't notice some of the details of what it takes to perform or to race in a group or the tactics of it. So I'm glad I had that. And then in 2024, because I hadn't qualified and nobody had qualified for the 2024 Olympic team in 2023 or at the World Championships, then all the criteria was based on getting uh, two podiums in the first three World Cups. So that included two World Cups in Brazil and then the Nove Mesto World Cup. And then if nobody qualified through that criteria, then it kind of went down to different selection like ranking, over World Cup overall position points, that kind of thing. But we have the women's field and for Team USA right now with USA Cycling is very strong. We have about six really strong riders, including there was one under 23 rider, Maddie Monroe. So she also had a chance if she performed in the under 23 World Cups to attend. But it was really, yes, me, Sevilla Blanc, Kelsey Urban, Kate Courtney, Gwendolyn Gibson. We were really targeting like the first two World Cups, and it was kind of all in. Like all of us were absolutely peaked. You had to perform, and a podium at a World Cup is hard to do. And every other nation was also trying to do that same thing because Swiss, for example, the Swiss team is very strong. They have a lot of depth. The French team as well. Yeah, a lot of people were trying to qualify, and it was a big deal. And I'm really good at performing when the intensity is high. Like, I love it. I don't know what it is. I've probably trained it over time, but when it's game on, I like click in and I can perform at my best. And for some reason, I love it. Like, I love the intensity of you have to qualify. You got to
Yeah.
perform. Today's the day. You only have one chance. And yeah, I was able to get two, actually three. I podiumed at all three. So I
Yeah.
got yeah, third, and then I won, and then I got second. So yeah, I like really locked myself in for the races, and then I was able to um like take a break and then just fully focus on Paris.
Yeah. Uh,
Haley, you
Go
say
ahead.
you don't know why. Your term was, I don't know why, but my hunch is you're so like you're running at such a high level of performance. And in my opinion,
Mhm.
in endurance athletes or athletes in general, most people think that it's athletic ability, but in my opinion, at the highest level, you talked about it, self-awareness. Say a little more if you don't mind. Like you know yourself well, better than anybody. Why do you like the intensity? Is it just because it ratchets it up a little bit and you can engage further? You know, is it because you're so
Yeah.
competitive with yourself that you just what I mean, what is it? How do you lock in those moments?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think I'm kind of still trying to figure it out for myself actually because there are a lot of people that wanna perform on the day, and for some people, they just crack, even though they're, like, the best or they're consistently the best. Like, Luana Lecomte's actually a great example. I don't know if you're following the World Cup, she performed really well in 2020 and 2021. She was winning most of the women's World Cups, and honestly, she almost always cracks at, like, world championships or the Olympics, and in both 2020 I'd say 2022, 2023, and 2024, she was, like, one of the
Yeah,
ones
pretty
to, like,
dominant.
be
Yeah.
on the podium.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, and even Pauline has not nailed the Olympics for, like, 4 I think she's been to 4 Olympics or something, I have to check, but she finally got gold. She hasn't even been on the podium since then, and she's all like, in Tokyo, she was one of the number ones too, and so I think I'm still learning why I'm able to click in at that level, but I think I can bring it down to maybe a couple things. One, the coach that I work with is actually incredible. Kristen Armstrong, she's a three-time Olympic gold medalist on the time trial and the road. And so she also really knows how to execute my training for the day. Like when it's one day, you have a year or more, many years to prepare for like 1 hour and a half where you want to win, you know? And we've just nailed that. And like you said, I'm very aware of my body. I've worked on that awareness for years. I can communicate very well with her how I'm feeling, where I'm at, when I need to tone it back, when I can give more. So I think the way we work as a team to prepare for like the day has been really good. And we've worked together for about 6 years now. So we're just a team in that sense. And then I think you're right. I think I do love the intensity. It helps me bring my focus to like laser focus, and that also is because I know what my goals are. When I do a lot of goal setting, and I know what my goals are, and I have a lot of clarity, like a lot of clarity of what they are and why I want to do well there. And I talk to a lot of young athletes about this as well. It's just you can't just set a goal because everybody else is setting the goal. Like, yes, everybody wants to be Olympic gold medalist, maybe. Like, a lot of people want Olympic gold medals, or they want to be a world champion, or they want to win state championships, or whatever, or they want to win the high school. Like, you want to win,
Yeah.
maybe, or maybe you don't. But if you do have any goal that you set, like, you need to know why you want that goal. Like, why? Why do you want an Olympic gold medal? Because it's cool, you know? Like, you gotta know, like, what that means deep down for you. And I think I have a lot of clarity when I do my goal setting of, like, why I want something and why I'm gonna go work so hard and overcome concussions and injuries and, like, heartbreak and bad days and all the craziness that it takes to perform because, like, I know why I want it.
Wh-
And so I think that's, like, pretty fundamental.
Why? What is your why then? Tomlin's going to ask the same question. So,
Haley, by the way, you just won gold in the best speeches the last 4 minutes.
Oh,
And I'm not
God.
kidding when I say that, because I mean,
That's
I
no.
hoped this would come out today of you describing 2 or 3 things. I want to get to the why, Preston, but I just have to say
Yeah.
this because when we do these podcasts, I don't picture adults listening. I know they do, and I know most of them listen to the long format where the younger folks are going to listen to an Instagram clip for 30 seconds. I hope that they pick up the last 4 minutes, because
Yeah.
I mentor a lot of kids in business, different levels of different things. And they often ask the question, how did you start a company? How did you sell a company? Like, how they want to know, how did you get successful? And what you just started with is so good. You started with who, not how. Right. And I think that that's a mistake that a lot of people make, is that it's all got to come from me. And the pressure then is all on you, versus I'm going to share this goal of going to the Olympics with Kristen Armstrong, right? You outsourced some support in who was going to help you get there, who's your team, that you're going to surround yourself with. So, and then you talked about goal setting and planning, and that was going to reinforce the why. You held up your broken hand. Like, you're not going to lose the goal just because you broke your hand. Like,
Yeah.
that's just,
Yeah.
and you're going back to resilience, right, in your childhood. So if you don't mind, talk more about that a little bit and weave in your why. What is your why now, but how important is it to surround yourself with team to really push yourself up, at that number one, higher level of performance, but higher level of accountability, so that when you break a hand or when things happen, you just don't throw it all out the window. Like, you've got a support
Yeah.
team to kind of help you stay accountable.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree that that's core. I guess I've done some work to like define what my personal philosophy is. I listen to the Finding Mastery podcast, uh and I love listening to how people and learning about how other people become successful, and um how they really, he talks about aligning your personal philosophy with everything, all your actions, what how you everything you do your words, your words, your anyways, how you act, how you speak, everything you do aligns with your personal philosophy. And so for me, mine is, I want to maximize my potential. So for me, that's what I try to, if everything that I do, am I maximizing my potential? And you're right, like team, the people in my life, they help me do that for sure. In everything, my family, and then when it comes to performance, like if I'm going to be the best bike racer in the world, this is a business actually. Like it is, I'm the CEO of winning bike races for Haley Batten, and who do I take on board to make sure we are a championship business? And I have the best coach in the world. I have amazing nutritionists. I have the best bike brand that I get to work with. And I know I take the time to learn to meet the engineers, to communicate with everybody on the team. I build deep relationships with everybody that I work with, because I know how fundamental they are. One, because I love people. I love working with great people. Like that is half of that is life. Actually, life is about the people you share the whole experience with. The best part about my Olympic medal was sharing it with everybody else that was there every step of the way, every pedal stroke, my family, my team, the people that we overcame everything with. Like that was the best part. Not just crossing the finish line, like heck yeah, I did it, but like everyone that I got to hug and like sit high five and be like, yeah, we did it. And so when I'm building and developing this team of people that give me accountability, that make me my best, that inform me on how I can be better, that are critical about how I can be better, and bring their expertise to this aspect of my life, but I also take the time to like get to know them really well and have great conversations. And most of them are like family to me. Like my mechanic is, I like know his wife and his daughter extremely well. Like we talk all the time. My team manager, all my teammates, like I take, like we have great, positive, like family like relationships. And it's not, they're not, yeah, sure, it's a business, but it's like family for me. And everybody on my team is family, basically, and we share this experience. We give our heart and soul, and I think sometimes the hardest part for an athlete is when you're giving everything, when you're seeking excellence. If you have someone around you that's like not giving everything, it's really hard when you are. Like if you're on a team and someone is just like not there giving excellence, it's really hard when you're sacrificing everything every day. You know, your 24/7 life is about winning bike races. Like if someone's not pulling through and they don't get it and they don't understand like how much you're giving and they're not giving their part, like that is hard to deal with as an athlete. So I try and build a team where everyone loves what they do. You know, it's something they're passionate about, and together we can share that passion and do really great things and seek excellence because we love it, and we love the process, and we love sharing it with each other, I guess. I don't know
You're
if that answered
So,
your
yeah,
question at all.
so
I
good.
got more
so good.
Your
Uh,
attitude, your positivity is so contagious.
no.
I
So
want to work for you.
I,
How do I get a job as an intern on this? If you're the CEO, Haley, I want to be a part of your company.
can I wash the bikes?
Well, the only reason I'm calling it that actually is because I've been through moments where everything wasn't organized. It was like you have so many, the more successful you get, the more people are involved. You know, you have all these people, the brand, the engineers, the team, your other team with your own coaches and everything, and it's all got to come together and everybody's communicating, and sometimes everybody has different opinions. Say for example, this, say like five, let's pretend my hand, people had like five different opinions on how I should heal it. I've organized this, so now I only like know who to talk to and how to like streamline this type of stuff. But when I was younger, it was like all of a sudden I have like 10 different opinions on how to move forward with something. And they're all trying to communicate, and you've got all these email strands, and it's just like, oh, whoa, everybody's confused. Nobody knows who should take charge. And it's like, okay, I got to take charge. And my coach was like, you need to become the CEO of your business. She
Mm.
literally told me that. And I was like, you are right. Like, I need to be the person. I am the center of communication. I'm going to manage who's emailing who, what the topics are, who's taking charge of a topic, you know, and who my go to people are for certain topics. And it just, that's how it has to be, you know. And when you go back to your goal setting and vision, everything, like there's a lot of details that go into that, of like there's a lot of elements and pieces, just like any other business, I think.
Haley, I'm so impressed. I'm sitting here. I am the CEO of a company.
Oh, yeah.
Levo, the sponsor of this podcast, is
Yeah.
literally a
Yeah.
company that I'm the CEO of. And we,
So
as an
cool.
organization, our literal company values are connection, communication, and culture. And you have built an incredible culture. It actually makes sense now why you are doing and accomplishing what you're doing, because you are the CEO. You've literally created, an organization whose values, culture, behavior all align, right? And if there's not that alignment, there is no outcome that's sustainable like you've been doing. So kudos to you for building, an organization that has this culture, this family, genuine feel of just caring for each other. But that communication is so key. It's amazing.
Haley, how does your culture deal with disappointment or discouragement?
Mm. um I guess something I always go back to is embrace the challenge. Life is hard. You got to just assume that it's going to be hard. And challenge is what makes you great. It's what makes you excellent. If you have nothing bad happen in your life, I say you're just subpar. What me and my coach called mid-pack. You're just there, you're chilling, you know? And hey, sorry, if I it's okay if you're not winning races. That is okay. I don't want to get this across in especially talking to young kids that you have to be a champion, you have to be a winner. As long as you know what your why is and what you're trying to accomplish from your races, if you are getting 20th, 30th place and you are happy and having fun and you're doing the things in your life you want to be doing, that is great. That is all that matters. It is not about living through winning, you know? But for me, my goals are to win. So a lot of this conversation for me is about being a champion, being number one. And so I don't want any kid to think that that's what they need in their life to be happy or to be successful. For me, that's what makes me feel good right now. So, anyways, back to your question. Um, okay, embracing the challenge. I think that if you don't have challenge in your life, you are mediocre because you don't you need challenge to become great. If you have something happen in your life that's hard, like really hard, and life will bring that, and you have a mentality where you're going to embrace the challenge and you're going to make it make you better. Like this hand, yeah, I broke my finger. Now I'm going to be really good I'm going to work on my meditation. I'm going to go in the gym. I'm going to visualize a lot. I'm going to review course videos. I'm going to do things in the gym that help me become stronger on some of my weaknesses. And I hope that when I'm done with this rehab, that I'm going to be way better as a complete athlete and person than I was before this injury. That's my approach. And I think that's the approach that everybody on my team has because we know that challenge and overcoming challenge in a positive way is what makes you excellent. And I can tell you for sure, every person that's ever been on a mountain bike World Cup podium, I know a lot of them, they've been through hard things. And that's what makes you great is if you have the mentality to overcome in a positive way and use those lessons from that specific challenge to teach you great things. And so I think, yeah, that's the perspective I have in my life. And that's, I think a lot of the people I surround myself with help me remind me of that. Like the note my coach put in was, okay, small hiccup. We're going to move on. We're going to become better. And everybody I work with has the same thing. They tell me the same stuff. And that's the type of mentality that I want to be reminded of moving forward when things suck. You know, sometimes it sucks to suck. You lose races, you feel awful, you feel horrible. And you need those people to remind you of yourself, the things that when you look back on, you're like, you would have said the same thing to yourself or they tell you something even better. So, yeah, that's my approach to challenge. I think that's where the good stuff happens,
Love the
honestly.
attitude.
Yeah, Brain Stoke's mantra is the struggle and stoke, right? I mean, you can't feel
Yeah.
true stoke without struggle. It's one thing
Mhm.
to crash your bike, break a hand, not have the result that you want in a race.
Mhm.
You know, you shared with us earlier that this last year your mother had a diagnosis that was heavy, a big
Mhm.
diagnosis. How do you take a diagnosis like cancer in family and now move through that emotionally, mentally when it's totally out of your control and you haven't trained for that at all? It's an
Mhm.
entirely different type of struggle, and yet you still have to move on towards your goals, as a racer. So if you don't mind, just
Yeah.
share a little bit more about that.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like I really went from one of the highest of highs in my life of Paris, like having this magical race where all my hard work like aligned and I just had the most beautiful race experience I've ever had in my life and it was just like, whoa, like that's what you worked so hard for. My childhood dream like coming to fruition, like this is amazing. My family was there to share it. It was just we're in Paris. It was beautiful. We went on vacation in Portugal. Like, wow, like positive peak life experience, like amazing. And then in November, my mom was diagnosed with leukemia, a very adverse form. And it was like, whoa, like I've never been in such a low in my life. Not even close. I don't think I've ever been in such a phase of like such a depressive state or had so much like moments of anxiety and just sadness and fear than I have then for sure. And I still have moments of it because she has a long, tough battle, but she is the most strong, amazing person that I know. Um, but I think that y- one thing I learned is that life, like we talked about, it's going to be hard and it's okay. Like you're going to have feelings of depression or anxiety or fear or sadness, but that's not who you are. That is part of life. It's okay to feel those things. And like you said, struggle and stoke, it's like those things make change your brain and your mind and when you come out the other side, the world becomes brighter, you know? Yeah, sure. Sometimes everything just dims, you know? You're just like in a dim kind of world and it's really sad and hard. And I think that I can honestly say, like, everything we've talked about so far, like, all the lessons of sport have 100% directly applied to this moment in my life. And I can say that sport teaches you so much more than I think I could have ever imagined than what I've learned like right now. Like it really has directly applied to this situation and has given me a lot of mental skill sets to be able to cope, to manage, and to work hard through this because in a way, like illness is also high performance. Like it is like we are going to win, you know? And we're going to work hard as a family and we're going to bring in all the performance toolkits that we all our family has to be successful. And half of those skills are optimism and resilience, like you talked about earlier. Like those our high performance skill sets and we're going to apply that to each like how we're approaching this and we're going to communicate well with the doctors and we're going to be set plans and goals and we're going to manage this like a high performance team because we want to win, we want to be champions, and this is like the biggest event we've ever signed up for. You know, well, we didn't sign up, that's for sure. Got put into dropped
Yeah.
into and I don't wish this on anybody, it's like absolutely horrible, but I would say, like, no, even though I've never felt so much pain in my life, I've also never felt so much love. And it's really been like very extreme extreme emotions, I guess, that the world has thrown at us. But we've become even stronger as a family unit. It's also given me so much life perspective. I showed up to the first World Cups, and people were like, "Oh, you know, are you nervous?" Because I'd skipped a few to be with my family, and I was like, "Nope, I know what to be nervous about now. I am not nervous about this bike race and whether or not I perform." Like that's for sure.
Yeah.
And I think that's just, yeah, really important. But yeah, I've learned a lot. I think I'm still learning. I'm still processing, and um, I, the amazing team that I have behind me, they're just as supportive now as they've ever been. And I think that's what's so important is that I really know now that I've surrounded myself with an incredible group of people. I've gained a lot of clarity of who deserves my energy and who does not. And yeah, I just have great people in my life, and I'm grateful for yeah how everybody stepped up in a lot of ways. It's been yeah pretty insane, and yeah, it's been really cool in that way.
That is so profound to hear you say illness is high performance. I've never
Yeah,
heard that. And it's so true, that you have to just raise the bar to get through illness. I mean, it
yeah,
in a way that feels paradoxical. Like, no, it's not. You're broken. Like, it's not performance. You're at your lowest. And yet, in order to get through it, you have to, go up a notch. A dear friend of ours, actually a big supporter and sponsor of the podcast, is Gardner Brown, Cornerstone Advisors. When you sit with Gardner, you're talking finance, and at the same time, you're really talking performance. Because he talks about you can't take major financial risk until you have this foundation that's in you. And
hmm
what you just described to me was interesting because you talked about the Olympic silver medal high and then this low. And then you talked about all the tools that it took to become a silver medalist are now the tools that you're using to cope with, right, illness in your family. So, I
hmm
mean, is that the case? Are you relying on a lot of those same tools that you've built as an elite athlete to actually
100%.
get through this tough time?
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and I think sometimes, like, I have such a high performance mindset, my whole family does because 'cause they've lived with they've well, 1, they created this, but also they've, like, lived with this for a long time, and, it can be frustrating, like, the whole medical system, you're like, "If this was high performance, like, you'd have a meal plan that was, like, focused on the illness, and, you know, they would have specific foods that they could eat, and it would be healthy and organic and, like, locally, like,
Totally.
locally sourced, and they would have this PT program where they came in and yada." So, like, our standards as a family are just so high, but also, like, all these little things we've talked about, the way we communicate with the nurses, like, we bring positive energy to them so that they wanna work with us, like, we create relationships with the people on my mom's team so that they support us, not just 50%, not 100%, but, like, 120%. They're invested in my mom's success. And that is like how you bring yourself to them too, and how you communicate and the energy that you bring and the hope that you have, and then you're building your team with them. But yeah, sometimes it's like almost too high performance. Like you're like, okay, it doesn't work like this. We're gonna do it on our own. Like my
Totally.
brother's like helping my mom do extra PT exercises, and it's just part of it. That's how we work, and I think that's what it takes to get through really, really hard, big challenges. Is you have to be excellent.
This standard of resilience, of expectation, has this uh, always been innate in you? It feels like it has been, that from the very beginning, you've had this standard. Or was it coached along? I'm just trying to understand a little bit more. As I listen to you, I'm just like, I can't. Was there ever a moment where the standard grew and changed, or is it always just this high expectation from the very beginning?
Hmm.
Haley, do you have a tattoo on
Good
your back that
question.
says excellence?
No, I don't.
Because it's really impressive. Your DNA.
I know it
Oh,
Like,
is. Like
if you
that's
get a deep
funny.
cut, keep that blood. I want some.
God. Um, I mean, I think my parents have had very high character standards from when I was young. Like, being good people was, like, the highest standard they had. So I think from that sense, like, that has always been high. Like, you gotta be a good person. You have to have strong principles, high strong morals, and, like, that was always, like, key. I think from a sense of excellence, I think though, like I said earlier, my parents, we always had to give our best, we just, as long as it aligned with that strong character, and we were giving our best, like, yeah, that was just part of it. I think excellence has developed with time. I think I could not, I wasn't an Olympic champion, even, you know, or medalist, even 4 years ago, you know, that has taken time. And I think the thing about excellence and awareness is, and your awareness that we've talked about, is you can't be excellent all the time. And I think, like, going back to that focus that you were asking about, and how do I perform on, like, the big days, like at the Olympics, when you have one chance, you've been working and dreaming for this for years, you're on the start line, you have to perform, you know? That intensity, like, I can create that intensity because I like to explain it like a flashlight. Like, sometimes it's kinda dim and broad, and it covers a lot of area, and sometimes it's, like, laser focus, but that, like, high beam can't last all the time. The battery will die, you know? And I know when I can have laser focus, and I know when I just need to relax a little bit. And I think that is part of excellence.
Mm.
Like, you have to rest, you have to slow down, you have to know when you need to rest and slow down. You need to know when you can do a little bit of everything, and you need to know when you need to lock in and do the work. And that is a lot of self awareness. That's being able to look in the mirror and say, you need to do this, this, and this. Like, you want to win this, and this. You better do it. You're not doing this. You're not doing this very well. You can do this better. Um, you haven't done this yet. You better get to it. You start tomorrow, you know? And it also, at the same time, it's not, oh, you suck. You're horrible. You're in an illusion. You can't be an illusion either. Like some people, I think, they just don't have the accurate mentality of where they're at. It's an illusion, it's false, it's lies. It's got to be real. Like you really need to do X, Y, and Z. You're really good at A, B, and C, and have some positive things to tell yourself too. I think that's important. I think sometimes people look in the mirror and they're like, "Oh, you suck. You can't do this. You're never good enough." That's an illusion. That's a lie, you know? That's not true. You have to be your best cheerleader, but you also have to be able to look in the mirror and be like, nope, get to work. Like, this is what it takes, you
Yeah.
know? And you're the only one that knows that. Nobody else knows what you have to do. And yeah.
Haley, are you happier? Do you sleep better at night in lock-in mode or after the lock-in took place? Do you know what I mean? There are certain people who
Yeah.
just love to lock in. And then there are
Yeah.
others who are like, hey, I can summit, you know, my talents and capabilities, but I do it and I'll get engaged, but I'm really looking forward to the beach after I lock in, right? The
Mm.
post party. What's you in terms of just when you're happiest? Is it lock in mode, kind of being in that performance state, or is it the after once you've done the thing?
The during. I love the process. And that's I've never had so much fun in racing as I did in 2024, which is crazy because I think for a lot of people like the Olympics, it's so intense. It's so extreme that it like breaks you and it's too much for a lot of people. For me, I was like so in love with the process. Like every detail of it, every aspect of my preparation, I was just like in it. And that's the good stuff, you know? If you I think if you like the after too much, why are you racing, you know? Like, you can also live a life where you just hang out on the beach and, like, go to work and stuff, like, sometimes people get into racing and they're, like, locked in and they're like, "Oh, I wish," you know, like, "Oh, I wish I was doing this." It's like, "Go do that, it's okay."
Totally.
You don't have to do this crazy bike racing life, you know? But yes, like, of course I enjoy, like, alright, I did that, it's time for a break, you know, with my family and friends and being able to be a normal person a little bit, not say no to everything. But yeah, I think I am happiest when I know that I'm doing the things that help my body and mind be their best, and I know I'm getting closer to something uh, that I think I can accomplish. Yeah.
Let's talk about locked in for a minute. Sea Otter 2025.
Mm.
You you were locked in.
Yeah.
You blew away the field essentially. Gravel race at Sea Otter. You broke away, I believe, in the single track. Came out of the single track with a gap, and you just poured it on. What was that a training race? Was that an experiment? What happened that day?
Yeah. I mean, I think that race probably meant more to me than people realize because it was my first race back after having been like just with my family and taking care of my mom all winter. So like I had skipped the first two races in Brazil. Like I was on the sidelines watching, like you said, you mentioned Christopher Blevins just absolutely crushing it.
Yeah.
I love every one of my teammates. So I was like just genuinely so stoked for them and just like proud. And so Seattle for me was like the first step to seeing like where my body's at. Like I've been trying to train. My training hasn't been the way I like it to be. It's not been its best yet. But like let's see what I can do kind of thing. And I would say that like endurance events, I think I'm a lot better at than people would expect. It's kind of my secret talent actually. Like I can go really hard for like about 5 hours if I want to. Like I can dig in and I have a pretty good threshold and I can just like push really hard. And so for me that like it was a 3 lap race. I think it was, do you remember how many miles it was?
I don't remember. Well,
Yeah.
former races have been like a 19-mile lap, but I don't know if that's what this year's
Yeah.
was.
I think it might have been a 50-mile lap,
So
but I'm
huge
not
though.
sure. I think we did 3 of them. Yeah. I'll have to no, I'll have to check, I can't remember. Um, but yeah, the first lap was for me just kinda, like, seeing where I was at, like, tuning in. I haven't raced this group. I was like, I know there's gonna be a lot of eyes on me 'cause it's, like, kinda the first time I've raced, in the US since my Olympic medal, so it's kinda like, "Oh," like, "Shoot," like, I kinda wanna be able to do well, you know? And, so I was kind of reading it, learning the riders. I don't race those athletes a lot, so I wasn't sure where I would be at, and then, yeah, just going back to excellence, like, for me, it was a training day. Like, if I was gonna be there, I was gonna get the best out of it, and sometimes, like, that race environment, having the competition, that just, like, levels up my ability to, like, dig deep, and, I like being in those environments that challenge me more than if you challenge yourself alone. And so, yeah, I like to see, not for me, it's not about if I win, it's about like how I win, how the race is. Like the Olympics, for example, yeah, I got silver. I wanted to win gold, but I was so satisfied because of the race, the way I raced, how I prepared. So for me, sea otter, it's like not about if I win or if I get second. It's like, do I finish the race like absolutely empty, super satisfied? And so if it's not just about winning, it's about like how much can I win by, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was like just basically how much can I suffer? Like how much can I lean in? Like what is pain? Like am I in pain or can I give more, you know? And I also know what real pain is now.
Yeah.
And so like in a sense like that pain doesn't that type of pain in racing, it doesn't really matter. Like sure your legs hurt, so what? Like go harder, go faster.
Yeah.
Like you can, try.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had a blast at that race. It was super cool.
Yeah. That was awesome. Can I, sorry, Tom. I'm just nerding out here for
You're
a minute.
good. I love this.
Okay, one more question about the Olympics.
Yeah.
In the Olympic race, I, from what I remember, you got forced into the feed zone, or
Mm.
you went through the feed zone,
Oh yeah.
and then
Yeah.
there was maybe some talk that you could potentially be disqualified for racing through the
Mhm.
feed zone or something. Can you
Yeah.
elaborate on that and what happened? And was there some stress that you could potentially be DQ'd or something was going to happen there?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that sucks. That was like a mistake. That was a mistake I wish I'd never made. Like if I went back in time, I wish like I didn't make that mistake.
Yeah,
But I also like at the same time, you can't make any have any regrets. So I've learned a lot since that moment. But yeah, I didn't know I didn't done anything wrong until I was in like I just finished, right? Like I just got an Olympic medal. I get to like right when you finish, they like put you into this media hallway basically. You're like just pull in and it's just like question, 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 camera, interview, mic.
uh-huh.
And like I got to the third person or fourth person maybe, and they're like, so and I was like, "What?" You know?
Uh-huh.
And they was like, "Oh, they're petitioning your medal, yada, 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 like, you went through the feed zone." And so anyways, the details of that is, actually, there's a website called CX Hairs, and
Uh-huh.
he wrote a great article about it where he went into the UCI rules and everything, to kind of explain what happened, but basically, there's no UCI rule in mountain biking that you can or cannot go through the feed zone. The new UCI World Series is like trying to clean up our feed zones a little bit. So you either go through the feed zone or you don't. It's kind of like Formula One. If you're not going to take a bottle or change like your flat tire, then you have to go on the alternative line around. Totally makes sense to me, no problem. Like I like the development in our sport. But for example, the next race I did after the Olympics, there was no separate line. There was one, you either take a bottle and you didn't. So it's still like a changing process in our sport.
Yeah.
There's no rule, like physical UCI rule around it. The night before our event, they had done like they always do like a presentation. They send us like a presentation packet that you can kind of they run through that has information on like the race, like, oh, this line changed, they rerouted this, or they did this, or please make sure to do this, all the rules of any race
Yeah.
event. One of the things they communicated was please don't go through the feed zone unless you're taking a feed or have a flat tire. Makes sense, got it. Last lap of the Olympic event. I'm not thinking about whether I'm grabbing a water bottle or not. I am in a battle for either bronze or silver. Like I am going to the finish line as fast as I can. And honestly, it just didn't even cross my mind. I was just like full on racing to the
Uh-huh.
finish. And at the Olympics, it's literally just a dirt road with a pole, like poles in the middle separating it. So there's no advantage from going through the feed zone basically, but I basically just like took the right line through the feed zone and didn't take a bottle, just assuming that nobody ever takes a bottle before you're going to the finish line. Like we were almost to the finish.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean nobody cared except Puck from the Dutch team. I don't even think it was her, but the Dutch team, she was in fourth position. So I
Ah,
think it would have somewhat
benefited her.
been
Yeah.
maybe an advantage for them if something happened to my medal, but it's not a rule. It's supposed to be like I can't remember, like 100 Swiss franc fine or something. They gave us 500 Swiss franc fine because it became such a big deal. But yeah, it
Did
wasn't
you have to
actually
write a
a
check,
rule.
or did USA Cycling step up and pay for that?
I think it was maybe the fastest check USA Cycling ever wrote. Yeah.
Yeah. How
I
about
don't
that?
think they're, but I was so stressed. Like I was honestly
Oh,
almost
Oh
in
sure.
my
tears. I was
word.
like so heartbroken.
Yeah.
And and like we talked about earlier, I mentioned like my family raised me with strong characters, strong morals, strong principles. Like I am racing clean for my life, like I don't want to be a cheater. And so like the first thing that crossed my mind was like, "Oh my god, did I
Uh-huh.
do something that wasn't fair for this medal?" I was like, wow, like I don't want to be that person. Like all the hard work, like I had a bad start, I had a flat tire, like I'm just trying to get to the finish line.
Yeah.
Like, did I really do something? And so, like, I just had to reflect on my own and be like, Haley, are you proud about your race? And I was like, yes, I'm very proud about my race. And
Yeah.
I was like, okay, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, move on. The Olympics is always going to make drama. All those interviewers are going to,
Totally stir
try
the
to
pot.
create drama. Yeah, I mean, I was on a podcast with people I didn't know, and they introduced me as the girl that cheated, basically.
No way.
Like through,
Whoa.
yeah, and I was like, through all the stuff that I've like done in my career or like all my accomplishments, like that's what stands out. The fact that I like did something that no other athlete cares about. Because like if any athlete knows like how it just didn't matter,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
It was just like it just stuck because it was the Olympics and because yeah. Anyways, yeah, it was unfortunate.
A stressful 30 minutes.
That's
Yeah.
It was
Afterwards.
it's
really,
Yeah.
heavy.
yeah,
Oh, I love it.
yeah,
Haley, where are
yeah.
you going? Where's this goal setting? Where's this incredible vision and capability taking you next?
LA 2028 gold.
Love it.
That's my goal. Yeah. And then from there, I'll figure it out. But yeah,
Something
I would
tells
love
me
to be a
you're going to
World
be
Cup
running
overall.
a big organization, or speaking on
Oh,
stages
funny.
about performance. And I'm serious that
Maybe.
you've got
Yeah.
something there for sure. So
Thanks. That's
2028,
nice.
that's big.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
How
big.
does Brainstoke
Yeah.
get like passes?
I don't.
I don't know. That's our goal now.
Yeah.
Yes.
We're
Yeah.
gonna be handing the bottles to the people who hand the bottles.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Home
amazing.
Olympics.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
That's so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
When you think about now going there, go back to this question about who. Is it keeping the same team? I mean, if at all possible, just in
Mhm.
terms of sponsors. And I know that stuff changes, over time. But what do you think about that? Just the team that you're assembling and trying to prep to line that up.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big part of it for sure. Um, I like my team. I've got a pretty good team right now. I love my team actually. And so I think it'll just be about fine tuning for sure. Yeah, continue to streamline everything. There's always changes within the brand, like specialize the factory team we have, and then I have like the factory team, and then I also have like my personal team, my own coach, my own nutritionist, my own strength coach, that kind of thing. So making sure everyone's working together really well. Um, yeah, adjusting everything as needed, but really just like building on what I've got, I think. Um, and I think this year and next year are really about like fine tuning, stepping outside the box, trying new things, experimenting, learning a lot, and then you really have to lock it in by 2027. You know, you have to have a pretty good idea who your team and what your training approach is going to be by then, and then kind of replicate in 2028. You know, you can't be experimenting on game time. So yeah, I hope to learn a lot in the next couple of years, and then have a pretty good plan for our approach by then.
If there's one thing that you're trying to learn, like when you prioritize the learning, is there one thing that just kind of sticks out that you want to scaffold or
Hmm.
build into your toolbox?
That's a good question. I mean, that's the cool thing about mountain biking is there's just so many aspects of it. I really want to continue to work on skills work. I work pretty closely with Braden Bringhurst. He
Mhm.
is awesome.
Braden
And
was on
so just
with
like,
us about a month ago.
yeah, I
I
think
don't
I
know if you
saw
knew
that.
that, but
Yeah.
yeah, incredible
Yeah,
guy.
yeah. He's amazing. Yeah, so just working closely with him and then obviously continuing to work on mental strategies and I think training approaches. I mean, there are a couple athletes right now that are just super strong and on a high level, and I just have to figure out I mean, I know how I can get to that high level, but I think just every year everyone gets stronger and stronger and stronger, so just making sure that I'm doing what it takes to continue to be there and trying new training approaches and sessions and things like that. You always have to be on the um, pinnacle of sport, you know, in a way. You have to be keeping up with the science and everything. So I'll make sure I'm doing that too.
It's amazing. One of the one of my favorite quotes that I want to just reflect back, with you on is, "We are most powerfully positioned to serve the people we once were." I watched you, Preston and I actually watched you. You probably don't know that we were there, but last year at a Utah NICA race, there was a
Mm.
massive line of student athletes who were waiting to see you. And I don't know if you remember those moments, but it was kind
Yeah.
of cool to see you giving back and taking pictures with everybody. And it was cold. It was that day
Yeah,
we
it
were
was
like, I can't
freezing.
believe like that she's out here for
Yeah.
this long doing this. But share a little bit about that and why it's so important to give back to youth, the future, especially women. You've raced from, on a pro women's team for the majority of your career. Speak to that
Yeah.
a little bit.
Yeah, one, I love that quote. That's great. And yeah, I think like for me, it's those hours and hours like at Utah, you know, signing autographs or taking pictures. Like for me, it's not about like, oh, cool, I signed an autograph. You know, like I got to do that. It's really like if that autograph makes that kid happy, like that's all I want. Like it's not. I've never done racing or high performance for fame or attention or Instagram followers. Like I could care less about that stuff. um, and so like I really, yeah, if I can, you know, inspire the next generation or be part of their journey in some way, like I coach a couple young Utah athlete, like junior female riders, like that kind of stuff, like being part of their process, sharing what I've learned. I just enjoy that and I'm passionate about it. I'm passionate about people uh, being aware of the strength of their minds. You know, like you got this. Like your human body has a lot of potential and it's very capable. And I've been able to learn that throughout my life. And I think um, giving that lesson, I think, to a lot of people is like the most powerful thing you could do. You know, like if someone realizes like how capable they are and how much they can do. Like for me, I have such a hard time when human potential is wasted. Like to me, that's like the saddest, hardest thing to see is it's like the human body and mind is actually insane. Like it can do so much and experience amazing things, like, if you can just capitalize on that, like, that's so cool. And so I think that's, like, really just for the world, like, important. Like, if we all just, like, maximized our human potential, like, wow, the world would be in such a great place, you know? And so that's, like, what I just wanna be part of, I guess.
How do you,
It's awesome.
as a coach, you can give someone a training plan and they can
Mm.
follow it and they can see their watts improve, etc. How, as a coach, do you help them understand their mental potential, and how do you teach them to to see improvement there? Because
Mm.
that's got to be the most challenging part of what you're doing with maybe some of those young students you're coaching.
Yeah, I agree. I think that is the hardest part. And I think sometimes it's about guiding them to have their own opportunity for learning. I think unless they are intrigued enough to ask questions to learn, they need to have experience to learn. And so sometimes, like, I really think the training plan is that's the easy part. Like, it's all the other details of performance, like you mentioned, that's what matters. I think sometimes allowing the training plan to be part of not failure, but, like, if you need to teach someone how to pace themselves, like, let them blow up the first time they do the session. And then afterwards, when they're like, "Oh, that was horrible. Like, I didn't hit my targets. I was way off on the last 2 efforts." Then you can step in and be like, "Oh, well, what if you tried this pacing, for the first 3 and then yada yada for the final 2?" I think that's just an example of how they need to learn, and I think that's how all my greatest lessons were through me, like, getting it my hands, dirty and racing and in life, and then being like, "Oh, wow," and then having great mentors where I could, like, ask questions to and learn from. And so I try to just be part of that guiding process, I think the way they learn is unique to them, and their lives are unique to them, and the things that will help them become great racers aren't the same lessons that I had or what stand out to me or what made me great. So I think just, like, not putting my career or my experiences on them, but, like, letting them kind of create their own journey and own pathway, and then just, like, guiding and being there when they have a tough time, and I can maybe give some advice, but, yeah, I think just being able to communicate, being there, being a support system, and then also, like, being able to step in or guide, learning opportunities
Mm,
is probably the most important from what I see, yeah.
yeah.
It's awesome. You're going to be, I know you already are, but your coaching future is, is, is bright. I can only imagine how many
Oh,
people
thanks.
would be so grateful to be coached by you. Finish on that if you don't mind. Coach us all. Give it. I mean,
Oh
you're racing
gosh.
at a high level. You're just an amazing human. I mean, I know
Oh.
you may hear that, but yeah, just what you're doing and accomplishing and how and why and who you've surrounded yourself is pretty amazing. Maybe just freestyle, to finish this off in any way that you want to.
I have nothing. I mean, I think, yeah, just thank you for having me. I think obviously the work you're doing is creating a platform to share a lot of beautiful stories, and I think sometimes listening is just, yeah, is the best thing you can do, or ask inspiring questions. So, yeah, thanks for the opportunity, and it's been great to chat with you guys.
Well,
Absolutely.
we are much bigger fans than we already are. So it's been awesome
Oh,
to hear your attitude and your perspective. It's refreshing, and I think it's also really inspiring. So it's been a great visit. So thank you.
Olympic silver medalist Haley Batten. You've had your daily dose.